Hey y'all, welcome to our homeschool table today. I have had a lot of questions, well really through the years. This is my 15th year to homeschool. We've graduated 3 children and we have 3 more to go. So I've probably got about 17 more years of homeschooling to go. But every single solitary year that I have homeschooled, starting at year 1, I have had people to ask me all sorts of questions. I mean all sorts of questions about homeschooling. Once upon a time I typed up a 13-page document, Word document, that I used to email to people who were wanting to start at the high school level. It's on my old computer and I don't know how to retrieve it, and some of the information I don't really use now. I mean, it's not relevant to my life. It might be to somebody else's. But I wanted to make this video, and I think this is probably going to be the first of a series, because the questions I've had just in the past week from several people in several states is how do I start homeschooling? I don't feel qualified to homeschool. Where do I start? Don't know anything about it. Got high schoolers, have elementary, want to pull my children out of school. I think the recent activities, negative activities in the schools, have caused some of the folks to consider homeschooling. There are a million questions you may have, and so in this little video I want to address simply, you're not qualified to homeschool. I'm sitting here making some notes and doing some planning, and I'm just thinking I would like to know what you would like to know about homeschooling. I also just realized Susie's in the background here. Y'all, we're being real here. This is Susie, my mama's dressmaking form, and Mama always called her Susie, so that's what you see in the background. Okay, we've got established that, and Susie's with us. You know, I said at the beginning, you're not qualified to homeschool. Is that what you hear? Is that what you tell yourself? Is that what you hear other people telling yourself? Is that what you think the public school system is telling you? Is that what you think the news is telling you? Is that what you think grandma is telling you, or mom or mother-in-law or aunt, whoever? You know, yes, there are people who are unqualified to homeschool. Are you one of them? Let's talk about the people who are unqualified to homeschool. Are there any? Yes, there are. My answers might surprise you. First person, well, let me just tell you a little bit about my background. Okay. I'm a public school teacher by trade. That's how I was educated in college, elementary education teacher. I taught for only 7 years until I realized, well, I'm going to tell you later why I quit teaching and pulled my children out of school. But I taught for 7 years. Now, I'm not anti-teacher or anti-principal. I'm kind of anti-public school system, but I was a teacher and I've been there and done that, and I can empathize and sympathize. And I'm just going to say, public, private, every school system, I'm just going to lay it out there and say there's brokenness. Surely we can agree on that. But I'm not anti-teacher. I'm thankful for teachers. I trained as one. I loved it. I loved being a teacher. But I loved something else more. And I did have reasons other than just wanting to teach my own children. I did have reasons. So we can talk about that in another video if anybody's interested. I almost want to use this video to gauge interest, to see if I need to make any more videos that would benefit folks. Mr. Patient and I would like to talk about his viewpoint of homeschooling, especially from the beginning. Was he on board? Was he not? What did he say? What was the ultimatum? You know, do y'all want to hear about that? Do you want us to make another video about that? The point of this video today is to talk about and decide if you are unqualified. There are people out there who are. All right, first people who are unqualified are those who don't want to homeschool. Now that may sound silly, doesn't it? But if you are adamant against it, if you are a career-minded mom or dad, or mom and dad, or you know, and you just loathe the idea of being home, educating your child, and that kind of thing, it's not for you. It's not for you. You need to go. You need to send your kids elsewhere. Now, I'm about to make a statement that's liable to ruffle some feathers. I want y'all to know, though, I'm not making this video to talk you into homeschooling. I'm making this video in response to some questions I've had from people who are interested or thinking about it. If you are not thinking at all about homeschooling and you don't give a flip what I have to say about it, that's fine. You can wait for the next video that's different from homeschooling. This is not to talk y'all into it. This is not to make you feel bad for not homeschooling. But if you're a person who just, for whatever reason, you are just completely and totally against teaching your children at home, then homeschooling is not for you and you're not qualified. The comment that I said may ruffle some feathers is that there are some people who just want their careers and that's what their priority is. And another comment that I want to make, and you know, we can't argue this. This is truth. You can't, you know, you can deny truth, but it's still truth. Whomever has your child for the bulk of the day, whether it's, you know, this wonderful private school, secular, Christian, whatever, whether it's, you know, Catholic boarding school, whatever, whomever has your child, government school, which is what I call public school, government school, because it is government run, government school, a preschool, a daycare, whoever has your child for the bulk of the day that your child is awake is, dare I say, raising your child and has the greatest influence on your child. Before you get upset about that comment, really, really, really think about it. And I'm not trying to step on toes. I have been there, y'all. I have taught public school. I have sent my oldest child to a wonderful lady, Miss Alice. I love and still love her to this day. She's living in the town we're in now. Love her. Appreciate her. But it breaks my heart to think that she is the one that pretty much potty trained my child. She's the one that was there when he would take his first steps and talked the most during the day while I was school teaching. The fact that she raised my first child basically from age 2 to the time he went to kindergarten is one of my greatest regrets in my entire life. And it will be till the day I die. But I can't get that back. I thought I was doing the right thing at the time because when he was, I can't even remember, about 1, I guess, I took him to her, wonderful lady, in her home. It wasn't a public daycare, wonderful lady. And I found some notes the other day she wrote me about, and he's 25 now. But I found some notes she wrote me about, you know, he took his first step, or he did this or he did that today. So I'm just saying, you know, that's one of my biggest regrets. And my point in saying this is, whomever has your child the bulk of the day is raising your child and the influencing them the most. I want to say too, after I quit school teaching, I was an interim teacher for a couple of years after I had my second son. And he was in daycare a little bit, and I did some interim teaching, and that means that's like a higher paid substitute, like a teacher or somebody who has their certification and they're a substitute for a longer period, like a maternity leave or a death leave. Like I was an interim for a lady who was having a baby. I was an interim for a lady who took off for several months to take care of her dying father. So I did interim teaching in about 4 different elementary schools in our county. Well, 3 or 4. So it was a good experience, but in that also I learned why I wanted to pull my children out of school. I also have been a daycare director. It was the largest daycare in the county. I worked over 60 hours a week. I hardly ever saw my 3 sons and husband. The daycare was open more than 12 hours a day. It was 24 hours until I came there, and I was able to convince the board to change it to 12 hours a day. There were about 100 children under my care in the daycare and about 25 employees. So I've been there. I've had my own children in that daycare. So I have been there. I've been a public school teacher. I've had a child who was pretty much, dare I say, raised by a lady in her home. A preschool, you might say. I've been a daycare director. I've had my own children in that daycare. That didn't fare too well with my 3rd son, and I regret that as well. But at the same time, I don't regret every little step. Every place I've been in life has brought me where I am now, and so for that I'm thankful. Okay, so the first person who is not qualified is the person who just absolutely doesn't want to homeschool, doesn't want to hear about it. Do you know that a good friend of ours walked up to me right after worship service one Sunday, years and years ago, probably 22 years ago. And she said, "What do you think about homeschooling? We could homeschool our children together." And at that time, my oldest was 2 or 3, and I thought, I just remember, I love this friend to death, and I wouldn't have the same reaction now, obviously, but I remember getting in the car. My husband and children were waiting in the car, and I remember getting in the car saying, "So-and-so said to me, what about homeschooling? She is a nut if she thinks I'm going to homeschool my children." So I was not ready to hear it. I was not ready to hear about it. I was a public school teacher. I was not ready to hear about homeschooling. So there is no need in pressuring people, trying to convince people. Just, you know, there is such a thing as praying someone into homeschooling. And I could tell you that story if you wanted to know about it. I can tell you something about that. But for length's sake on this video, let me just talk about the second person or second type of person who is not qualified to homeschool. It's the person who doesn't want to be with their children. Now hear me out. I can think of a person in particular. I can think of her name. I remember everything about her. I taught school with her. And her children were 1 or 2, 3 years older than ours. I remember at the beginning of every summer, or before school was out for the summer and before school was out for Christmas, I remember her saying, "Oh, I have to be home with my kids. Bah, I have to be home with my children. Bah, what am I going to do with them? Oh, I can't wait till school's back in session." And she had 2 at the time, I do believe. And I wasn't on board with homeschooling then, but I've always loved family and home and just the togetherness. And I thought that, even this is really even before homeschooling was on my radar. And I thought, wow, something's wrong about that. They have, I don't know now, but then they had what seemed to be a good family life. I knew her extended family, and they were just really, you know, good, decent people. And I was shocked that she said that. And if we're being honest with each other, y'all, you know people, or you've heard people say that they just can't stand to be with their kids. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. Don't hit pause and leave the video until I'm finished. There are people who send their kids off for summer camps, day camps, you know, days or weeks. There are people that send their kids off to these, you know, out all kinds of places, you know, camp type things. I can think of several different kinds. There are people that come up with all kinds of activities, whether it's, you know, swimming lessons or, you know, dropping them off at the swimming pool or the mall or whatever, just because they don't want to be with them. Now, the reason I said hear me out, I'm not talking about the people who just want to find extracurricular activities for their children. I've done that. Y'all, I was a Cub Scout den leader. My husband was the, we were in Boy Scouts for years and years and years. I was finally the Scoutmaster, what's it called? Over, not Scoutmaster. We were heavily involved in Boy Scouts, both my husband and I. We have 2 Eagle Scouts. I'm just saying that to say we were all involved in the day camps and all the overnight camps, the week-long. You know, our kids did all sorts of extracurricular activities. I'm not against extracurricular activities, but we didn't look for these just to shove our kids off, you know. At the time, we thought these things were needed for, well, we just thought that's what you're supposed to do. And that's a whole nother video. But my point is, you know, I know there are people who exist who just want to get rid of their kids. I don't understand it. I don't understand why they have them. I don't mean to sound mean. I don't mean to sound offensive. But if you know me, you'll know my heart and what I'm trying to say. There are just people who don't want to be with their children. Those people they're not qualified to homeschool. So those are just the 2 kinds of people that are not qualified to homeschool. And you think, well, okay, I don't have a college degree. I have a GED and not a high school diploma, which I don't discredit, by the way. I'm proud of those folks who got their GEDs. Come here, buddy. I'll answer your question in just a minute, okay? I'm sure he's got a question. Let's end the video. Okay, just let Mama talk for just a minute. We're talking about homeschooling. Do you like to homeschool? What do you like about homeschooling? What do you like?
We don't want to go to school, so we can do stuff all day and not go home.
We can do stuff all day at home? That's what you like? Well, there are a lot of advantages, but we're not on here to try to talk you into homeschooling. If you'd like to know some of the advantages, you know, like I said, we'll make another video and we'll do that for you. But, of course, I forgot what I was saying when little buddy came in here. But we just want you to know that, oh, I was saying you feel like you're not qualified. You don't have a college degree. You only have a GED. You only have a high school diploma. There are just simple answers. You know, I can just help you get started, even though not knowing what state you're in. I can help you get started on how to homeschool if you're interested in that. But just let us know down below in the comments. This is kind of an introductory, just kind of feeling you out. I know I've had several people to ask questions, but just know you're not unqualified unless you're one of those couple of groups of people who just absolutely are just don't even want to hear, just don't even talk to me about it, or I don't want to be around my kids. Don't want to be around them. They annoy me at Christmas break. They annoy me at summer. They annoy me for spring break. Don't want to be around them. There's a lot of other issues going on there, but that's another video. Y'all take care. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments. We're willing to make a series of videos, and Mr. Patient's willing to weigh in on his feelings about homeschooling too, because remember, he wasn't a fan at the beginning. All right, y'all take care. Hit the subscribe button, would you? Because that really helps us to make our channel better. You know, YouTube opens up different little secret doors for us and allows us to do different links and things like that if we, you know, have more subscribers. Frankly, that's how it is. Hey, buddy, what are you doing?
Trying to push this.
All right, we've already done our bookwork for the day, and they're outside playing. So what is it you wanted to ask me?
Could we put my water sprinkler? It's burning up outside.
It's burning up outside. It's only like 65 degrees.
Well, could we still play with it?
It's burning up, he says.
Could we still play with my water sprinkler, please?
Water sprinkler. Not today. It's going to have to get a little hotter before you play with that.
No,
Okay?
it's burning.
All right. Tell him bye-bye. Okay, I have just watched this video twice. I can already hear some comments, some criticisms, some questions. I want to clear one thing up. I talk about who is not qualified to homeschool. This is just my little opinion, my little video. Who's not qualified. I'm not talking about the folks who are not able. Y'all, I know there are as many situations as there are families in the world. There are people who are not physically able, mentally able, emotionally able. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about, I hate to say mainstream, but the mainstream folks. And I'm addressing specifically those folks who say, oh my word, I want to homeschool, but I don't feel qualified. So that's who this video is addressed to. That's who it's meant for. And I really am not interested in hearing the criticisms of, well, you don't understand. I can't do it because of this, that, and the other. I'm talking to the people who are wanting to homeschool and just need a little bit of oomph or encouragement that they can do it. So I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate you watching to the end. And please comment if you have other topics relating to homeschooling or really more specifics of how you can start. And I'll be happy to try to answer those to the best of my ability. One piece of wisdom that I would give you, piece of advice, would be to ask a lot of different homeschoolers about home education. So not just one person or two. So y'all take care. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. I really appreciate your being here.